Welcome back to Movies TV Man. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the Doctor Who Daily. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So how are we feeling about Doctor Who Flux episode 2? What's it called again? The War of the Sontarans. Well, I'm still feeling really positive about it. I really enjoyed the episode. Check out my initial reaction, which I did on yesterday's Doctor Who Daily. But I really wanted today to focus on Doctor Who Flux and episode 2. And I found a Screen Rant article explaining the ending of the latest episode of Doctor Who Flux, because I do think it was a very interesting, iconic, epic cliffhanger. So let's check it out. And by reading this article, I can refresh my memory about all the character names, because as you know, the only thing I remember is Yaz and the Doctor and Dan. I can just about remember Dan. Oh, and Vinda, even though, do something with that character for Christ's sake. Anyway, Doctor Who, Season 13, Episode 2, ending, Temple of Atropos and Muri, explained. Doctor Who, Season 13, Episode 2, ends on a dramatic cliffhanger that has the potential to rewrite the BBC sci-fi TV show's history and lore. Right, don't panic, that's not going to happen, because I gave you my little theory about the Swarm and whatever the other person's name, even though I just read it here. But it won't rewrite. It's not going to rewrite anything. In fact, you're going to be happy by the ending of all of this, because basically our Doctor isn't the timeless child, the Swarm is. Basically. So what this does, because I think the Swarm is a multiversal version of, actually I've changed my theory. We'll talk about it because I've come up with a new theory now. Anyway, this is by Thomas Bacon of Screen Rant. The dramatic ending of Doctor Who Season 13 Episode 2 saw the Doctor summoned to the Temple of Atropos on the planet Time. The planet Time. Got it a bit wrong yesterday. I got everything wrong yesterday. Too late to prevent Swarm wreaking havoc, the coronavirus pandemic has forced showrunner Chris Chibnall to take a very different approach for Doctor Who Season 13. No. The COVID-19 pandemic has nothing to do with the concept of an event series, and I don't know why Screen Rant are obsessed. Doctor Who is one of the most difficult shows to produce. It's actually not. Look, obviously it's more difficult to produce than fucking EastEnders. It's a high-octane sci-fi series. Things have to be done, green screens. I understand that. But doesn't mean it's impossible. Everyone else is doing it without moaning and wanting credit for it. Doctor Who is one of the most difficult shows to produce. Chibnall explained in an interview with Doctor Who magazine, and we were aware that the pandemic would make it even more difficult. We tried to keep pushing a show every year, and we didn't want to let the ambition of the show down, but to continue with the previous number of episodes was financially, logistically, and operationally impossible. Oh, I see. This is an excuse for not doing more episodes. Well, Chris, you don't like making lots of episodes anyway, so let's stop that. As a result, Doctor Who Flux is an abbreviated 6-episode series with a single overarching narrative. But he still would have had an overarching narrative. He's just limited the amount of episodes using COVID-19 as an excuse. Doctor Who Season 13 Episode 2 revealed the Sontarans had taken advantage of the Flux to launch an attack on Earth when they believed the planet was most vulnerable. The Sontarans' plan was a ruthless one to base themselves on Earth in the present day and then construct time ships with which to launch invasions back through history, gradually erasing all of Earth's past until humanity had never existed in the first place and Earth became a Sontaran world. Fortunately, their mission to the Crimean War hit a snag when the Doctor was blasted back to that time period. Meanwhile, the Doctor's new companion Dan ran interference against the Sontarans in the present day, helped by Carvanista, whose former employment with the division meant he knew how to use time travel technology against the invaders. It's going to be interesting if Carvanista actually has knowledge about the division, because he denied much knowledge to the Doctor when she asked him in the Halloween Apocalypse. So that's interesting to look out for in the future episodes. A B-plot saw Yaz and Jacob Anderson's mysterious new character Vinda transported to a mysterious temple. With Earth safe, the Doctor and Dan headed off into the universe to find Yaz, only to be drawn off course and dumped unceremoniously in the same temple. Unfortunately, the Doctor arrived too late because her enigmatic nemesis Swarm had launched a plan of his own, one that apparently saw time itself run wild. Here's the ending of Doctor Who Season 13, Episode 2, all its setups explained. The Temple of Atropos is situated on a planet called Time, and I explained yesterday, my theory is that this is what's the word I'm looking for? That's it. I've used it so many times and I've forgot it. Jesus Christ, this memory. I think the planet Time, the planet of time, or whatever they're calling it, is a multiversal version of Gallifrey. That's the only explanation I can see. So basically, Atropos is situated on a planet called Time, whose very existence is a mystery to the Doctor. According to the time traveller, the spatio-temporal readings are at 0, meaning it is situated outside space and time. According to the priest triangles who guard the Temple of Atropos, it was built to house beings called the Muri, who are responsible for maintaining the flow of time in the universe. Now, this is interesting, because isn't that really what the Time Lords were doing? They were observers, making sure everything stayed in the right order. So it's kind of the same thing. So I think, you know, this planet of time, or whatever it's called, is definitely a multiversal version of Gallifrey. It's got to be. All time passes through the Muri. The priest triangles explain before Atropos, time ran wild. The Doctor's forgotten enemies Swarm and Azure launched an attack upon Temple Atropos once before, but were defeated, leading to Swarm being imprisoned by Doctor Who's division. The mysterious organisation believed to have been established by the Time Lords. The division that was probably launched by Tech-Tay-Yoon. And Tech-Tay-Yoon is hugely involved in this Swarm storyline, I think, and I'll explain that in a minute. Apparently some pretty sophisticated technology was installed in the Temple of Atropos. Now, let me just stop myself there to say something. You know, like this Atropos thing, and these people, these women controlling time, doesn't it stink to you of the Loki series and that organisation? Has Chibnall literally ripped off the Loki series? It's going to be interesting. Look out for that. Because I didn't think about it at the time when I was watching the episode, but yeah, it seems kind of similar. Could they be manipulating things like they were? If it's the same thing, that's going to be a little bit disappointing for me, but let's wait and see. Of Atropos to prevent Swarm and Azure from ever repeating their previous strategy. The Muri were quantum locked against interference, although precisely what this means is unexplained. Now obviously they're quantum locked. Could the Muri be the origins for the Weeping Angels? Because they don't really have any origins, do they? Well, quantum locked against interference, although precisely what this means is unexplained. The term has been used before in reference to the Weeping Angels, exactly. But it's unclear how it was supposed to serve as a defence against Swarm and Azure. But the villains used Yaz and Vinda to get around the quantum locks in a similarly unexplained manner. Yeah, we don't really know how they did it. Will they even explain it? And kill 2 of the Muri. The concept of the Temple of Atropos and the Muri appears to be lifted from Greek mythology, where the Muri, more commonly known as the Fates, were goddesses of fate and destiny. The Greeks believed the Muri to be responsible for ensuring that every living being lives out their allotted destiny. Oh my God. This is a rip-off of Loki. Oh my God. And they were considered to be above even the gods. Doctor Who's Muri are presumably similar, existing outside the universe, but maintaining the flow of time. Yeah, you see, this is such a rip-off. This is such a rip-off, honestly. Existing outside the universe, but maintaining a flow of time. Swarm attempted to destroy them once before, but was defeated by the division and their agent, the Doctor. Now, this is interesting, isn't it? Because the Doctor, can't remember this, but she was an agent of the division. I think Jo Martin's Doctor was an agent of the division, and I think she came just in the middle of between, I think, Patrick Troughton's and John Pertwee's Doctor. I think that's the theory we're all coming up with from the Doctor Who fandom, isn't it? Anyway, so that's got to be explained. So we've got lots of exciting reveals still to come in this year of Doctor Who and next year's final 3 episodes for Chris Chibnall. It's interesting. And their agent, the Doctor, whose memories of that time were lost as part of the Timeless Child retcon. But it's interesting because if Jo Martin's Doctor is this agent, and I think she is with the kind of way her version of the Doctor is, it's going to be interesting why Jodie doesn't remember this. Could the Doctor's memory even be wiped? I don't know. We're going to find out though. It's exciting. The Doctor's lack of knowledge of time and the Temple of Atropos suggests all records of these events were expunged from the Matrix, presumably because of risks of this power being abused, of time running wild again, were too great. This is a dramatic rewrite of Doctor Who lore, suggesting the Time Lords were never the supreme race of time manipulators in the galaxy at all. They have been similar temporal beings in the past, creatures like chronovores, for example, so powerful even Time Lords were afraid of them. But the Muri literally control the flow of time. Conceptually, they seem similar to the idea of He Who Remains in the MCU's Loki. That's what I just said. And that's an issue for me, but when was this made? Is he copying Loki, or is he more copying this Greek mythology? I think the Greek mythology, so I'll give him a pass. A character who maintained the so-called sacred timeline, such an idea does sit rather uncomfortably with Doctor Who lore. However, given the show has never exactly had a single timeline to begin with, it's fascinating to speculate how the Time War could have affected the Muri, giving it involved history being rewritten to an unprecedented degree. According to the Gelf in The Unquite Dead, many higher life forms were destroyed by the conflict, and that's interesting. Doctor Who Flux Episode 2 reveals why the TARDIS seems to be dying. The Doctor's ship is a time machine, and it channels the power of the time and space vortex. But as the Muri weaken and die, the temporal energy begins to corrupt it. This manifests in mysterious crystalline growths that are beginning to emerge throughout the ship's interior. This is true, likely reflecting the fact that TARDISes are grown, not made, suggesting that temporal fluctuations are leading to restored or accelerated growth. The speed of growth is shocking, with the TARDIS interior completely changing in the time it takes the Doctor to have a conversation with Dan and Carvanista. Given the rate of decay in the TARDIS, the Doctor may soon find herself without her ship and needing to figure out another way to travel through time and space to pose Swarm and ashore. Really good article. I'm glad I read that out to you. That's my first time as well. I'm a virgin of that article as well. Now, they're talking about the Uzuri and what's going on with them affecting the TARDIS. Now, this makes sense, but I don't believe this is a higher power than the Time Lords. Maybe they are. Maybe this will change everything. But I doubt that Chris Chibnall is going to be allowed, and it's not up to him to change law. Because, yeah, things happened in the RTD era and the Moffat era, but it didn't really dramatically change the canon. Maybe changed a couple of little things, and that's okay, but this is huge. More than likely, the Muri are from another universe in the multiverse, because I've told you before and warned you before, they are going to enter the multiverse, and they already have. And this is what the Flux has done. It's either created an alternative universe, or it's opened the door to the multiverse. So the Uzuri are multiversal beings that control time. But in the Doctor's universe, Universe 1 as we're calling it, it was still the Time Lords. So really nothing's going to be changed. Now this leads me to my original theory about the Swarm. And is whatever the other woman's called, right? So, I believe, and I gave you another theory yesterday, but this is yet another theory. This is exciting. This is what Mystery Box does. Well done, Chris. I believe that the Swarm is Tecte-Yun. Now, that's one of my theories, because I've got that other theory, of course, where the Swarm is a multiversal Doctor. Of course, that could be a thing as well. So I'm not letting yesterday's theory die out, but this is another theory. So, the Swarm is Tecte-Yun, and the female, his Harley Quinn, or whatever her name is, and I've forgotten already. Is it Majori or whatever? Anyway, or the majority of the time people. Anyway, let's not confuse ourselves deeper. So this is my second theory. So I think the Swarm is Tecte-Yun, and I think the female is the Timeless Child. the actual timeless child. You see, I believe the timeless child isn't from Universe 1. It could be a version of the Doctor from a multiversal version of the Doctor from Universe 2. This would be a clean and tidy way of Chibnall cleaning this up. In another universe, this happened to the Doctor. Now, what about the Division? Where are they from? Can the Division travel through the universes? Who are they? Who runs the Division? Is it the old guy who built the tunnels? We don't know. But it's becoming very, very intriguing, very exciting. Now, I read another review calling this episode boring. Listen, it's different strokes for different folks. Chibnall is a different type of writer, and he's done something extremely different. He was obsessed from the beginning of bringing classic Who into this kind of relaunched era of Doctor Who, the revival era of Doctor Who, and he did that in season 11. And even in season 12, the pace was still in the individual standalone episodes slow. So that's who Chris Chibnall is. That's how he writes. So his era is nearly over. Let's just see how it ends, right? Now, if you're not enjoying the individual episodes, I still don't enjoy them as much as I enjoyed the RTD era or the Moffat era. Peak Moffat era, which was season 5 and season 6A. But still, he's doing something, he's telling a story. So before we judge it completely, I think we owe him to watch it in its completion and see what he's doing here. But I tell you what, I do love Mystery Box, and it does seem a very fascinating, intriguing watch, and I am enjoying Doctor Who Flux this far. Please let me know if you're enjoying it too. This has been the Doctor Who Daily. I'm Nick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and please hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And of course I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if that's a threat or a promise, but I will be back tomorrow with even more Doctor Who Daily. Until then, goodbye.